Welcome to Pigeon Healthy. You've got a champion racer. Wins races consistently, incredible performance, perfect genetics. You think this bird will produce amazing offspring, so you pair it for breeding. The eggs are fertile, they hatch, and then disaster. The squabs die. Or the parents abandon the nest. Or the babies survive but never perform anywhere near the parents' level. You're confused and frustrated. How can your best bird be such a terrible parent? This happens constantly in racing and show lofts, and there's a scientific reason why. Today I'm going to explain the breeding trap, why high-performance birds often fail as parents, what causes this, and most importantly, how to identify which of your champions will actually breed successfully and which ones you should never pair. The breeding trap is simple. The traits that make a bird an exceptional performer are often incompatible with the traits that make a good parent. Let me explain. Racing pigeons are bred for speed, endurance, homing ability, competitive drive, and physical efficiency. These birds are lean, high-energy, intensely focused athletes. Their entire physiology is optimized for performance. Low body fat for aerodynamic efficiency. High metabolic rate for sustained energy output. Nervous, driven temperament that pushes them to fly hard and home fast. Strong competitive instincts that make them race aggressively. Now think about what makes a good breeding bird. Calm, patient temperament. A nervous, high-strung bird won't sit eggs reliably or feed squabs consistently. Good body condition with adequate fat reserves to support egg production and crop milk. A too lean racer doesn't have the reserves. Nurturing instincts, willingness to care for young rather than prioritize their own activities. Strong pair bonding and cooperation with a mate. Competitive racers are often individualistic and don't bond well. See the conflict? The racing champion is optimized to race, not to parent. When you try to make them breed, you're asking them to do something their genetics and conditioning work against. This doesn't mean champions can never breed successfully. Some do. But many don't, and keepers waste years trying to breed from their best racers only to get disappointing results. The solution is to understand which birds have breeding potential and which don't, and to use different strategies for each. Let's start with the obvious signs that a bird will be a poor breeder. First, extremely nervous or high-strung temperament. A bird that panics easily, doesn't settle on the nest, constantly jumps up and leaves eggs or squabs exposed. This bird will not successfully raise young. Nervousness is somewhat heritable, and it's incompatible with the patience required for breeding. Second, very low body fat. Racing champions are often kept lean, sometimes too lean. A hen with less than 10% body fat cannot produce quality eggs or adequate crop milk. She doesn't have the reserves. Similarly, a cock with extremely low fat may have reduced fertility. Third, poor pair bonding. Some birds, especially dominant, aggressive birds, don't bond well with mates. The cock may attack the hen or ignore her. The hen may refuse the cock. They fight instead of cooperating. If a pair can't bond, they won't breed successfully. Fourth, prior history of abandoning nests or failing to raise young. If a bird has been paired before and consistently failed, abandoned eggs, didn't feed squabs, that pattern usually continues. Past behavior predicts future behavior. Fifth, age extremes. Very young birds under 1 year old often lack the maturity and hormonal stability to breed well. Very old birds over 8 to 10 years may have declining fertility and parenting ability. Sixth, health issues or chronic stress. A bird fighting illness, parasites, or living in stressful conditions cannot successfully breed. Breeding requires optimal health and calm environment. Now let's discuss birds that show breeding potential. First, calm, steady temperament. A bird that sits quietly, doesn't panic when approached, handles disturbance without abandoning the nest. This bird has the temperament for breeding. You can test temperament by observing behavior. Approach the nest. Does the bird stay sitting or fly off immediately? A bird that stays is more reliable. Second, good body condition. Not fat, but healthy with visible muscle and some fat reserves. A hen should have a plump, rounded breast. She should weigh slightly more than race weight. A well-conditioned bird can support the demands of breeding. Third, strong pair bonding behavior. Watch how pairs interact. Do they preen each other? Do they sit together peacefully? Do they share nest duties? A pair that bonds strongly will cooperate to raise young. Fourth, prior breeding success. If a bird has successfully raised squabs before, especially multiple rounds, that bird is a proven breeder. Use proven breeders whenever possible. Fifth, moderate performance rather than extreme. Interestingly, birds that are solid, consistent performers, not necessarily the absolute top champions but reliable, good birds, often make better breeders than the extreme champions. They have balanced genetics without the extremes that hurt parenting. Sixth, good parenting instincts you can observe. Some birds naturally show nurturing behavior. They're attentive, protective, feed well. You can identify this even before pairing by watching how birds interact with squabs in the loft. Some birds are curious and gentle around babies. Others ignore or even peck at them. Now, the strategy for handling champion racers that you want to breed from but that may be poor parents themselves. You don't breed them directly. You breed their siblings or their offspring from proven breeder pairings. Here's how it works. Let's say you have a champion racing cock. You want his genetics in your breeding program, but you suspect he'll be a poor parent due to his extreme racing temperament. Instead of pairing him directly for breeding, you identify his siblings or close relatives. These birds share much of his genetics but may have more moderate temperaments better suited to breeding. You pair these related birds with proven breeding hens. The offspring from these pairings carry the champion's genetics but are raised by good parents. These offspring are then tested as breeders themselves. The ones that show good parenting traits are kept for breeding. The ones that show poor parenting but good racing ability are used for racing only. Over time, you build a breeding line that carries the champion's performance genetics but with the temperament and physiology to breed successfully. Another strategy is to use the champion as one parent but pair him with an exceptionally good breeding hen that can compensate for his weaknesses. Some hens are so nurturing and capable that they can successfully raise squabs even if the cock is unreliable. She does 90% of the work and the cock just contributes genetics. You get offspring with his performance genetics and her parenting ability. Some of those offspring will inherit both traits and become excellent breeding birds. You can also use artificial methods if you desperately want to breed from a bird that won't parent naturally. You can let the champion pair produce eggs, then foster those eggs under reliable foster parents to hatch and raise. This gets the genetics without depending on the champion to parent. Or you can hand-raise squabs from a champion pair that abandons or fails to feed. This is labor-intensive but works if the genetics are valuable enough. Let me share a real case. A racing loft had an incredible hen. She won multiple races, highly decorated, worth thousands. The owner paired her for breeding, excited to produce offspring. She laid eggs. She sat them initially, but after a few days she abandoned the nest. Eggs went cold and died. He tried again. Same result. She'd lay, sit briefly, then lose interest and abandon. After 3 failed attempts he was ready to give up. I suggested using her siblings instead. She had 2 sisters from the same parents. Both were decent racers, not champions like her, but good birds. We paired both sisters with proven breeding cocks. Both pairs raised squabs successfully. Those squabs carried the champion hen's bloodline. Several of the offspring became excellent racers, almost as good as the champion ant, and they also bred successfully when paired. The owner got the genetics he wanted without depending on the champion herself to parent. The champion continued racing, which she was excellent at, and her sisters provided the breeding line. That's smart breeding strategy. Use each bird for what it's good at. Another case involved a champion cock, top racer, very aggressive and dominant. He'd attack hens, wouldn't bond. We tried 3 different hens, all failed pairings. Finally we tried a very dominant, confident older hen who wouldn't tolerate his aggression. She fought back, established dominance, and he submitted. They bonded. She controlled the nest completely, did all the sitting and feeding. He fertilized eggs and occasionally sat when she forced him to, but she did the real work. They raised squabs successfully. The offspring had his racing ability and her parenting temperament. Some became excellent breeders. Without that specific hen who could handle him, he would never have bred successfully. These cases illustrate that breeding success isn't just about genetics. It's about matching temperaments, compensating for weaknesses, and using alternative strategies when direct breeding fails. Here's your practical action plan. First, evaluate every bird in your loft for breeding potential, not just racing results. Test temperament by observing behavior around nests and squabs. Check body condition. Watch pair bonding if birds are already paired. Second, separate your birds into categories. Proven breeders, these birds have successfully raised squabs, use them as your core breeding stock. Good breeding potential, calm temperament, good condition, not yet proven but likely to succeed. Test these birds carefully with close monitoring. Poor breeding potential but good performance, champion racers, highly nervous birds, very lean birds, use these for racing or showing only, breed from their relatives instead. Unknown, young birds or birds you haven't evaluated yet, test carefully and categorize based on results. Third, use strategic pairing. Pair proven breeders together for reliable offspring production. Pair high-performance birds with proven breeding partners to balance genetics. Don't pair too nervous or too aggressive birds together, this magnifies problems. Fourth, monitor first-time breeders closely. Watch their first round carefully. Do they sit eggs reliably? Do they feed squabs? If they abandon or fail, decide whether to give them another chance with a different partner or remove them from breeding. Some birds improve with experience. Others never do. Fifth, keep detailed breeding records. Track which pairs succeed, which fail, which birds are reliable parents, which aren't. Over time, patterns emerge that guide your breeding decisions. And sixth, be willing to admit when a bird isn't suitable for breeding and move on. Don't waste years trying to breed from a champion that won't parent. Use their genetics through relatives or foster methods, but don't force direct breeding if it doesn't work. The breeding trap catches many keepers because we naturally want to breed from our best birds. It seems logical. But breeding is not just about genetics, it's about behavior, temperament, and physiology. A champion racer is built to race. A champion breeder is built to raise young. Sometimes those qualities overlap in one bird. Often they don't. Understanding this and working with it instead of against it is what separates successful breeding programs from frustrated ones. If you've been struggling to breed from your champions, now you know why. And now you know what to do instead. Use smart strategies, breed from relatives, balance temperaments, use foster parents if needed, and build a breeding program based on what actually works, not what you wish would work. Your breeding success will improve dramatically. If this video helps you rethink your breeding strategy and save you frustration, share it with other breeders. Many people struggle with this exact issue and don't understand why their best birds fail as parents. Comment about your breeding experiences, successful or failed. And subscribe to Pigeon Healthy for advanced breeding knowledge that actually improves your results. Thank you for watching. Breed smart, not just from champions, and build a program that actually produces the results you want.